Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Hybrid Now. So what are the top reasons, maybe the top 5 reasons, to buy the new 2023 Toyota Prius? You know, I jumped on this car about 2 or 3 months ago myself. I thought it was pretty unique, and I have not been disappointed. It is awesome. But what are the things that you should look for? Number one, we have to talk about fuel economy. This is supposed to be a really good on gas, a gas-sipping car, and it's not bad. It doesn't get, for me so far anyway, on an overall ownership average, the fuel economy that was advertised, and that was somewhere in the low 55 or 50 rather mile per gallon range. However, I am getting 43 now, I think it's 43.8 miles per gallon. That's not bad. I mean, compared to a lot of the other vehicles out there, we are well ahead of where they're at. So I think if you're looking for something that's really good on gas, this is the car to buy. Number 2, the fun factor. I mean, I think any vehicle that you buy should be fun to drive, right? Otherwise, you get the car, you dread getting in it every day, it's a drag. You don't have that with the new Toyota Prius. It is a blast to drive. I look forward to driving this every time I jump in because it is awesome. It's quick, it accelerates well, the handling is awesome, it's comfortable inside, everything makes sense, you know, ergonomically where everything is located. There's nothing worse than trying to change a radio station, for example, and you have to stare at the screen for 10 minutes to try to figure out how to do it. Everything is intuitive in here. I really love that about this car. Number 3, it looks awesome, and it is unique. There really isn't any other, some might argue it looks like a sports car, like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini Huracan, even a Tesla, I've heard. But it is unique on the road. There's nothing else that looks like it. It's going to set you apart from all of the other hypermiling or really good gas mileage cars. It's just awesome to look at. It's something that you're never going to get sick of, I don't think. It's something that looks good every time that you see it, even after you own it for a while. You know, a problem I've had in the past is I get used to vehicles and then I kind of get bored with them. Now, it's not that I've had this car that long. It's been about 2 months or something like that, maybe a little more. And I still love it every time I see it. The curves, the design, the way it's set up. I just think it is awesome. It's definitely a car that you're not going to get bored looking at anytime soon. Number 3 or 4, I've lost track. Pricing. You know, for what you get in this car, and it is loaded with features. Now, I have the limited 4-wheel or all-wheel drive rather version, and it has everything you'd ever want in it. It even has a voice feature. In other words, I can talk to it and tell it what to do. I think that is pretty cool. I love tech. I've mentioned this in other videos. I love tech anyway, so being able to have the Alexa or Siri experience in my vehicle is awesome. I love to be able to tell the radio to change stations. You can even tell it to adjust the heat if you want, all without touching any buttons or taking your eyes off the road. A great feature in the car. I think from a safety standpoint, it's something that probably all cars should have these days. I mean, anything that allows you to keep your eyes on the road and still do things that you know we all do, messing with the temperature, changing the radio stations. There are other things. I think it's a great idea. Number 5, comfort. You know, that's important too when you drive a vehicle often, right? If you jump in your car every day and you're going to the brick and mortar and you're sitting in rush hour traffic, there's nothing worse than being in a car that is not comfortable. This car is awesome. The seats are nice and plush. I never sit here and have to squirm around because it's not comfortable. I think they did a great job with the surfaces in this car. A few people, some reviewers out there have knocked some of the surfaces. I don't think it's really much different than any other vehicle when it comes to those kind of things. What's soft where it needs to be soft is, and what's hard where it doesn't matter, doesn't matter. I think they've got all that set up really well. The ergonomics of the car, you can reach everything, even the glove box over there, I can reach from the driver's seat. At the same time, while it's not cavernous in here, it does not make you feel claustrophobic. It still has a nice open feel, and I think a lot of that, even though the windows are a bit more sloped, a lot of it is because of this window in the front. Right over in the corner, which you can't see, I know, we have this little window right below the pillar that opens things up, lets light in, and lets you see down the side of the front of the car, or out of the front of the car. I think it was a brilliant way to set it up. If that was a solid piece, I think the car would feel claustrophobic. Definitely don't have any issues like that in this new Prius. Lastly, one other thing I have to mention, because a lot of the reviewers have talked about it, and that is the steering wheel position. A lot of reviewers have said that you can't get the steering wheel in a good position to be able to see that gauge cluster right up front. I disagree. Now, it might take a little getting used to, because you do have to keep the steering wheel down or the seat up a little bit, because it does kind of protrude or block over that gauge cluster. But when you get it set up the way it should be and you get used to driving it, it's not a big deal. If it blocks anything, it's the bottom part of the gauge cluster, and there's no information there anyway. There's nothing you need to see. So I think a lot of the reviewers that have brought that up have been nitpicking. Yes, it does cover a part of the gauge cluster, but the part that it covers does not have any information or readouts on it. So it's not really a big deal. It's certainly nothing that you can't get used to in the way of having the steering wheel or the seat adjusted properly. I should know, I'm very particular about that kind of thing myself. In my two trucks, I put little seat jacker things in to change the seat angles, even though one of them is a 10-way power adjustable, the Toyota Tacoma. So I'm very nitpicky about that kind of stuff myself. And believe me, if I can sit in this car and not have any issues with visibility to that gauge cluster, and there's lots of information on that gauge cluster, by the way. You can set it up so you can see the power flow, the mileage, all kinds of other things. So it is something that you're going to be looking at frequently if you care about that kind of stuff. I don't have any issues with it. Anyway, those are just a few things. I think it ended up being more than 5 that I wanted to cover if you're considering buying the Toyota Prius, or maybe reasons that you should buy the Prius. Leave a comment. Let me know what's important to you. I'd just be curious. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.